All your past experience is not going to prepare you for what's about to happen. Okay, it wouldn't have happened under the previous administration. Absolutely not. And
For sure.
Had we not got this, but I feel pretty confident that you're going to be surprised on the upside here. You're going to be surprised that nobody's going to want to stand and filibuster this thing.
In a recent interview on CoinAge with Fred Krueger, we explored the potential impact of the U.S. government establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Fred shared bold insights on Bitcoin investment strategies, portfolio allocation, and his expectations for Bitcoin's future price movements, including the possibility of an unprecedented boom. At the time of this discussion, Bitcoin is trading around $98,000, reflecting a 4% increase in the last 24 hours and a remarkable 45% increase over the past 30 days. As Bitcoin continues its upward trajectory, investors worldwide are taking notice of its potential. Before we dive further into this discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Now let's hear more from Fred Krueger.
I mean, the election changes everything, right? So it could have gone the other way. I think had we had a different outcome in the election, we might be looking at $50,000, not $100,000. So I think, we have the best of all possible worlds for Bitcoin right here. And this is like, we just added kerosene to the fire, and the fire is going in one direction right now, which is up. I think let's zoom out a little bit and ask ourselves, right now, where is TradFi's allocation to Bitcoin? And let me put it this way. There's about 47 trillion dollars worth of stocks out there, an equivalent amount of bonds, and 5 or 6 trillion of cash out there. And just in the US alone, there's $100 trillion of financial assets. Bitcoin right now is a $1.5 trillion asset class. But of that $1.5 trillion, TradFi only owns about $100 billion worth, which is kind of the value of all the ETFs, which is about 1 million coins, and MicroStrategy, right? So in a world where they have $100 billion of it, but their total pie is $100 trillion, their actual asset allocation is 0.1%. And actually it's less than that, because Bitcoin's a global asset and the US doesn't have more than 1/3 of the total global pie. So we're looking at, something like 0.3% of allocation to this asset class. And I mean, we're going to north of 1% very quickly.
Yeah.
We're looking at $1 trillion coming into this asset over the next, let's call it 4 years. But it's, if this money's coming in, you don't really want to be the last guy in the pool. I think they always have this adage, you don't want to be the first guy in the pool, but you don't want to be the last. You certainly don't want to be the last guy in the pool either. Yeah. So I just think, look, the real, yes, there's some leverage with MicroStrategy buying a little bit of, all the amount of money that's come into this market is inconsequential relative to the amount of money that's about to come into this market. It just doesn't matter. So, again, there's these big buckets of money in the world, right? So there's self-directed people going to their stock, their portfolio, their account at Merrill Lynch, and clicking a few buttons and picking up some exposure to MSTR or one of the new ETFs. That's 1/3. You have institutions like pension funds, retirement accounts, and things like that. That's another 1/3. And then you have managed accounts where wealth managers are allocating on behalf of their clients. That's 1/3. And none of these things they're just like dipping the very top bit of their toe in the water. That's 0.1%. They are not involved yet. So, it's sort of like the dam there's a little bit of water, there's a little fissure in the dam, and we're seeing some water drip through the dam, and we're going, oh my God, is this, how much is the entire dam is about to break. So, you're in, looking at the chart of Bitcoin in the past, I don't think informs you very well as to where it's about to go. We are about to have a breaking dam moment where TradFi has finally awoken to this asset, and number one, understands the asset, understands the opportunity, and number two, can now, for the last 9 months, invest in this asset. That the ETF is live. They can push a button, they can get exposure. So I think, we have the catalyst for this move, which is the ETF. That's the necessary and sufficient condition. Before that, traditional finance, traditional investors couldn't buy Bitcoin easily. Sure, they could open an account at Coinbase, but that's a very small percentage of people who are going to do that. Most people, they have their assets in a brokerage account or in a bank, and for them to wire money to this thing called Coinbase and buy Bitcoin it's a stretch, and it's even more of a stretch to tell them you got to put a private get a seed phrase, copy it down, store it in a safe, get a ledger, and hold your own Bitcoin yourself. That's not going to happen for most people.
No, it's a very good point.
They're not going to do that.
As we just heard, Fred Krueger shared his perspective on the potential impact of the U.S. government establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. He offered bold advice on increasing Bitcoin portfolio allocations and insights into the cryptocurrency's anticipated massive growth. Now let's dive deeper into why Fred believes Bitcoin is the only asset that truly matters at the moment and how investors can prepare for potential market volatility. Let's hear more from Fred Krueger.
Well, it's 100% realistic. It's 100% going to happen. It is a promise that Trump made to us in Nashville when I was in with all my fellow Bitcoiners in the actual physical same room with Donald Trump. When he made that promise, I was in the same room with RFK Jr. when he made that promise. We were in the same room with Senator Loomis when they made that promise. This is happening, okay? And you may be in disbelief that it's happening, but it is going to happen in, by, I would say, March of next year. So this is going to happen, and it's not just going to happen suddenly with Congress fighting it. No, there's going to be talk of this thing right when Congress gets back to work on the 5th of January. So we're moving very, very quickly in a direction where we have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Mm-hmm. Where the largest entity in the world, which is the U.S. government, is buying Bitcoin. And so if you're not buying Bitcoin and your government is buying Bitcoin, and you're sort of still on the Peter Schiff train that this is not real money, you got to go see a doctor, because obviously it's real if the U.S. government's buying it. So it doesn't matter how much the U.S. government buys. Yeah. The fact that we have a strategic reserve is all you need to know. That is all you need to know. And that means that if you're a company, your company needs to buy Bitcoin. If you're a country, your country needs to buy Bitcoin. If you're an individual, you need to start front running that as fast as you can, right? You just got the go ahead. So you need to start your allocation, whatever it is way too low, So that's the mental shift. Here's the first problem is, if you think about trading Bitcoin, you're in the wrong. You've already said the wrong thing. Okay, you should not trade Bitcoin. Period. Full stop. Ever. Okay. Yeah. So the fact that you're asking about trading Bitcoin is wrong. This is probably going to be, it will be the best asset, the best performing asset of your entire life. And, if you're trying to pick where it's going in the next 3 months, I have no idea. But this thing is going to go so much higher that the only thing you need to do is, how can I possibly stomach the inevitable volatility that's going to happen? And how much of a position can I take? Now, I would sort of say, if your number is 10% of your portfolio or less, you're probably thinking the wrong number, right? You're probably in the wrong zip code, okay? So if you're saying 1 to 2%, I mean, great. You've just seen the best asset of all times, and with the best catalyst for growth of all times, and you're coming up with 2%. What's happening with the other 90%? You're just going to put it in the bank. You're going to put it in. You're going to put it in some dog stock, or
to watch the full interview, check out the link in the description. Fred Krueger shared fascinating insights about Bitcoin's potential for a historic surge, the implications of the US government establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and why he believes Bitcoin should be the primary focus for investors over other assets. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with Fred's perspective on prioritizing Bitcoin as the primary asset? How do you think a US strategic Bitcoin reserve could influence the market? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video for more exciting content exploring the world of decentralized technologies.